Hey, what are you doing there?
Oh, excuse me, I have to use the bathroom.
What? Are you kidding me? You can't use it here. You are a stranger, so go outside.
My mother-in-law left me speechless. On the day I visited my in-laws' house for the first time since my marriage, I was supposed to enjoy dinner with everyone, but instead, I was faced with childish harassment. From the first time I met her, I knew that she didn't think much of me. I never imagined that she would go as low as that though. I had no choice but to leave the house and find a nearby restroom. Little did she know that I would later find herself in deep trouble. My name is Gabby, 28 years old. I'm a happy newlywed. My husband's name is Rick. He's 32 years old. He's an impressive guy who holds a high position at a major company for his age. I met him at a friend's birthday party. I had no expectation of a romantic encounter, and I was just there to enjoy the celebration with my friends. That's where I met him, and we ended up getting married. You never know what life brings to you. However, if you ask me if my marriage is perfect, I can't say yes with confidence. Although I'm very content with Rick, there is one trouble that I cannot even tell him about. It is his mother. To put it simply, she doesn't think very highly of me. I realized that the first day I met her. It was when Rick and I visited his parents for the first time.
Dad, Mom, this is Gabby. We are planning to get married.
Rick introduced me to them. That was my first time experiencing something like that. I wanted to present a good image to them, but I was so nervous that I couldn't speak fluently. Rick's dad, Luke, smiled gently at me, perhaps sensing my anxiety.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Gabby. I hear that you've been taking good care of him.
It's my pleasure too. I'm the one being cared of.
You don't have to be so modest. You are too good for him. You are such a bright young lady.
Thank you. So kind of you. Rick was smiling at our casual conversation. On the other hand, I noticed that his mom, Brianna, remained stoic. When our eyes suddenly met, she gave me a fake smile. She spoke to me in the sweetest voice she could make. I'm also glad to have a lovely girl like you as my daughter-in-law. You too are very kind.
By the way, would you prepare drinks with me? I'd like to talk with you alone.
Of course, I'm glad to. Rick said I could just wait with him, but that was not how it worked. I had to be proactive and make even the slightest positive impression. I followed her to the kitchen. As soon as we were alone, her expression turned cold. I even felt fear for her instant change. I opened my mouth, trying not to be bland. Brianna?
Don't call me by my first name. You're rude.
Rude?
I hate pretentious women like you. How did you seduce my son?
No, I didn't. I really love him.
You are such a liar. You are just after his money because he works for a prestigious company, aren't you?
No way! That's really not true. No matter how many times I denied it, she didn't listen to me. In the end, she made drinks all by herself, and all I did was just stand there. It didn't take me long to realize that I was called into the kitchen not to help her, but to be told off. After she finished preparing the drinks, she said clearly, "Let me tell you this. I will never accept a woman like you as my daughter-in-law." Wait, please. Please listen to me.
I don't have time to be trifled with. I will pretend to get along with you in front of Rick, but I will never accept you. Remember that.
She put the drinks on the tray and went back to the living room. She completely changed from what she had been a moment before, and acting if nothing ever happened. We continued to have small talk, but I was so anxious that I could not concentrate on the conversation at all. As we were driving back home, Rick asked me, a little concerned,
"What's wrong with you, honey?"
"Why?"
"No, it's just that your expression is so stiff. You are always smiling."
"I'm sorry. I've been nervous all day. I'm a little tired."
"Oh, of course. Let's go home and chill."
On the way home, he stopped at my favorite fast food. I had to force a smile on him, who was trying to make me feel better. There was no way I could tell him that his mom hated me. In the end, we got married without having a talk about it. That was when the Hell's Gate opened. Upon our marriage, I quit my job at Rick's request and became a full-time housewife. One day, my phone rang while doing housework with the TV on. Who is this number? I stared at the screen for a few seconds at the unfamiliar number. Since it was not blocked, I decided to answer the call anyway. "Yes, hello? Hello, Gabby? Brianna?" The caller was none other than my mother-in-law. As soon as I heard her voice, my previous anxiety came back, and I was at a loss for words. She let out a sigh before speaking. "I can't believe you're really married. I thought you would have backed down after I told you so much." "I'm sorry, but I really love Rick."
You are persistent, aren't you? Anyway, I won't accept it. You became a housewife so that you can do whatever you want with his money, right?
"No, that's not true. He asked me to quit my job."
Oh, please. You gold-digging parasite.
What the hell?
Listen, if you don't want me to pester you anymore, leave my son, okay?
She hung up on me after that. As the beeping of a disconnected line echoed in my ear, I was tormented by an indescribable feeling. Why couldn't she understand me? I wasn't after money. I married him because I truly loved him. I still wished to have a good relationship with her. I knew she was obsessed with Rick from what he had told me and what I had seen. I had no idea that she would be so hostile to me because of jealousy. Since then, she started calling me frequently. It was always during the daytime on weekdays. In other words, when Rick was at work and I was home alone. I still couldn't gather up my courage to tell him about her and didn't know how to deal with it. I had no choice but to listen to her sarcasm in silence and endure it. One day, January was drawing to a close, and Rick and I were on our way to his parents' house. We were supposed to visit them over Christmas, but Rick had caught COVID at work, and we were both infected. We couldn't leave the house during the holidays and had to postpone our plan. We were visiting them for the first time since our marriage that day. Luke was away on a business trip and was going to be back the next day. Brianna was the only one at home. The fact alone made my heart heavy. When I pressed the doorbell, she appeared with a big smile on her face.
Rick, Gabby, welcome. I've been waiting for you guys.
Hi, Brianna.
It's been a long time. We have been in touch from time to time, but it's always nice to see you in person.
Yes, indeed. Let me tell you, it wasn't from time to time that I heard from her. She spent about an hour insulting me almost every day. She seemed not to want Rick to know about it, so she continued to play the role of a good mother-in-law. We were planning to stay overnight, and I was worried about what would befall me. As I let out an inaudible sigh, she said to Rick,
I'm sorry, but would you mind if I asked you to go and buy some groceries?
Oh? Why?
I forgot to buy our ingredients for dinner. I also forgot to pick up the cake I ordered. Oh, come on. You're forgetting too much, aren't you? Are you alright? I've got the car, so I will go now. My bad. Gabby, make yourself at home. She smiled at me. It was not an honest smile, but one that seems to contain something. If I followed Rick, I was sure I would be hammered by her later. I reluctantly stayed behind alone with her. I sat on the sofa and waited patiently for him to return. Just as she went to the kitchen, I got up to the bathroom. Rick had told me where the bathroom was before. I headed toward it, relying on my memory. As I was about to open the door, I felt a presence behind me. Hey, what do you think you're doing? I turned in the direction of the voice and saw Brianna standing there. Her expression was irritated, and I could tell she was anything but calm. I responded calmly so as not to upset her any further. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't excuse myself before I came out. Answer the question. What are you doing? I have to use the bathroom. What? Are you kidding me? You can't use my bathroom. Why not? You are a stranger. Go outside. I feel gross if you use it. She giggled and sussed my reaction. I felt as if my blood drained out of my body. There was no point in trying to get along with her anymore. I became painfully aware of that. I knew she despised me, but I never imagined that she would go as low as that. I couldn't deal with it. There was no way I could build a good in-law relationship with someone like her. I understand. Then I ran out of the house. I didn't know where the shops and restaurants were because I didn't have a sense of the area yet. I could still hold it for a little while, but it couldn't have lasted until Rick came back. Walking aimlessly through the neighborhood, I thankfully came into sight of the town center. I hurriedly went into a public restroom at the train station. As I came outside, I heard someone calling my name. I looked around, but didn't see anyone familiar. Then, I saw Luke running toward me with an arm up in the air. Oh, Luke, I thought you were coming back tomorrow. I finished my work early, and I heard you guys are coming today, so I rushed back. That's great. Anyway, why are you here alone? Oh, well, that's... Seeing me fumble for words, he must have sensed something was up. The smile on his face faded, and he asked me seriously. Gabby, I'm afraid to ask you this, but did my wife do something to you? No, nothing like that. Please be honest with me. When you came over last time, your face was very dark after coming out of the kitchen. I've been worried about you. Well, Luke, I found myself sobbing at his attentiveness. I continued to cry aloud, not caring that there were people around me. Sitting on a nearby bench, Luke silently waited for me to calm down. When I told him about all the harassment I had received, he listened without interrupting and seemed to be unable to suppress his irritation at the end. When I had finished telling him everything, he said, "Let's end this today." How? He hailed a cab and we went back to his house. Rick had already returned and was surprised to see Luke and me appear together. Hey, why are you guys together? I mean, why are you here, Dad? I finished work earlier than expected. I need to talk to you. What's up? It's important. Luke called for a meeting, and everyone gathered in the living room. He shouted at Brianna right away. You've got to be kidding me! How low are you to bully Gabby in such a childish manner? What are you talking about out of the blue? What do you mean by a bully? Don't you play dumb. I just heard from Gabby about all the harassment you've done to her. I have no idea what you're talking about. I've never said anything bad to her. Then why did she go to all the trouble of using the restroom outside?
Because I was using it.
We have 2 toilets. If there were only 2 of you here, one of them would have been open, right?
Her expression became distorted as he pressed her.
What's going on, Mom?
Rick sounded angry, but Luke continued.
I just told you. She has been harassing Gabby for a long time.
What the hell?
You pretend to be friendly with her, but behind my back, you are bullying my wife?
Rick became curious.
No, listen to me.
She desperately pleaded with him, who continued to ignore her. Then she became defiant all of a sudden. She revealed her true nature and turned her anger toward me.
It's your fault. Look what you have done.
My fault?
Yes, it is, because you married my son. If you had been a prettier and more obedient wife, I wouldn't have bullied you.
Rick and Luke were at a loss for words for such a ridiculous excuse. I realized that it was a waste of time. I told her in a stern voice, if I were prettier and more obedient, what bullshit. You would have insulted anyone just the same, no matter who she was. You just don't like me marrying your precious son. That doesn't change no matter who he gets married to. Isn't that right?
No, I hate women like you.
Can't you understand that we are in this situation right now because of your immature behavior? You are losing your family because of your stupid way of thinking. If you don't understand, experience it for yourself. Your family will abandon you, and you will be on your own for the rest of your life. She fell to the floor, moaning. There was no one to offer her a hand. Instead, we just looked at her with disgust. After that, Rick and I returned home without staying overnight. Luke told us that he wanted to take care of things with her alone. A few days later, he told me that he filed for a divorce. At first, she violently refused to separate. She had borrowed thousands of dollars from him, so he gave her 2 choices: pay the money back right away or get a divorce. Given such a choice, she, who had neither income nor savings, finally decided to divorce him. She has no place to go, so she is currently working at a factory with staff housing. She is now in her mid-60s, so it must be hard life for her. This is all her own fault. There is no room for extenuating circumstances. I, on the other hand, have a more pleasant life now that I don't hear from her anymore. I visit Luke regularly, and the 3 of us go on trips together sometimes. Was it coincidence or inevitability that I ran into him at the station at that time? Either way, I can only be grateful to him for believing my story and taking action immediately. I will never forget this gratitude. I will continue to live my life to the fullest in order to protect my happy days.
You're dismissed as a wife now, so let's just get a divorce. Oh, and it's obvious that my retirement money will only belong to me, alright?
Just when I was wondering what my husband Max was going to say, he says some outrageous things like this.
It's all your fault. You're the one who was slacking off even when you're the wife and skipping chores, not listening and obeying to me.
Yes, you're right. So then, let's get the divorce papers ready and get divorced.
What?
My name is Charlotte, and I am a 68-year-old housewife. I have been together with my husband Max, who is 3 years younger than me, and we have been married for 45 years now. But here we are, on the verge of a divorce. Well, I think that neither of us apparently considers it as a crisis, and maybe we both thought that this was coming. Or At least I thought so. My husband and I met at work. My husband had just graduated from high school when he joined the company where I was working at. I had already worked there for 3 years before Max began working at the company, so I was assigned to mentor him as a trainer. My husband was very handsome and he had looks which I had preferred in men. He was younger than me and he also had a very cute side to him which stimulated my maternal instincts. So then, as I began training him, we naturally began going out, and after about 2 years, we found out that I was pregnant. And that led to us getting married. Then, our first daughter, Jane, was born, and we became parents. We were quite young as parents, 20 and 23 years old, but I became a stay-at-home mom and mainly focused on raising our daughter while Max worked. My husband loved Jane and also took care of her, saying,
For her, I will do my best at work.
Looking back, those were probably the happiest times for me. My eldest daughter grew up quickly, and when she was 4 years old, my son, Patrick, was born. I was able to have a girl and a boy as our kids, so as a family, we had a lot of fun. My daughter was into drawing and reading books, and my son was into baseball and other sports. We couldn't pay for their expensive lessons like piano, but I did buy Jane new books and had Patrick get into the local youth baseball team. I was so busy with the kids' events every day that it didn't take long for my kids to grow up to be adults. As a housewife, I think that I did a great job that I even would like to pat myself on the back for. I did all the housework, packed lunches for the kids and Max, and prepared dinner for them. My daughter and son were both involved in after-school extracurricular activities, so I drove them when they needed a ride. Unlike me, my husband did not really do anything around the house, although he worked and earned enough to provide for us family. I don't think he even took out the garbage once. I am sure that he would not have understood how to do it if he was suddenly asked to sort or gather the garbage or something like that. But at least he wasn't arrogant about not doing any house chores, so I think that was another reason why we didn't fight much about him not doing anything around the house. Then, after 22 years of our marriage, Jane finally graduated from college and got a job. Then 4 years later, Patrick had also graduated from college and got a job. I felt quite a sense of accomplishment when I was able to send my 2 kids out into the society. And by then, I was still 49 years old. My husband was 46 years old and he was still working hard. With the feeling of enjoying life from now on, I began to focus on my hobbies as well, went on trips, and did many other things. Max and I started to spend time together more as a couple for the first time in a long time, and I felt that our second life had begun. I think we both enjoyed our time together as a couple, and we were really happy together. But that all changed when we both passed the age of 60. I think it all started with a very petty thing.
You're not a good cook, are you?
Huh? What are you saying all of a sudden, honey?
Because, you always cook the same dishes and there's never much variation to your meals.
And you're telling me that now? You've been eating whatever I cook for you for a long time now without complaining. And I've been trying to make different dishes as possible with your favorite meals that you like.
But still, why don't you have any other different recipes? I mean, how long have you been a housewife anyways?
Then, let me say this. Have you ever even cooked once in your life? I cooked every day while taking care of the kids. You could at least thank me for that if you're going to complain now.
What the hell? Don't get mad at me like that. I was only just saying my opinion and trying to have a normal conversation with you.
Well, I'm not mad, There was something that bothered me, so I just only said that.
Well, practically, you are angry at me because you have that certain tone. Well, that's enough. Let's not talk about this anymore.
You were the one who brought this up on your own. And since then, my husband began to complain about how I did the house chores as well.
I feel like you didn't wipe enough here. I mean, the floors are not shiny at all.
Well, we've lived here for decades now, so I guess it's no wonder that it's not shiny enough.
You shouldn't be so negative about everything like that. That's how you lose flexibility to things when you age.
What on earth is he saying? Like this, my husband has been blowing up at me a lot lately. Why does he keep taking his anger out on me about house chores that he didn't seem to care about all these years and never helps around with? And if it bothers Max so much, then he should just do it himself. But it seems like he doesn't want to do it at all. I felt like a fool for taking the house chores seriously, so I decided to do the cooking and other chores in a roundabout way. My husband is about to even retire and will be at home for a long time after that, so I thought it would be better for him to see me not take it that much serious about house chores and cooking. But this seemed to irritate my husband even more.
Hey, isn't the dinner tonight too simple?
You think so? But thinking about our age, I think we should get used to this kind of simple dish.
What? You've got to be kidding me. Are you going to make me eat this kind of food all the time when I retire soon?
I realized that I always cooked fancy dishes and complicated meals for you. I thought I'd cut down on some ingredients where I could.
No, you better not do that. You just want to slack off, don't you?
Why was Max always so sensitive to changes and precise on some things like this?
If you keep on like this, then you are not qualified as a wife. You better remake the dinner.
Well, that's not possible. It's not like I bought a lot of ingredients for tonight either.
Then just go buy more ingredients at the shop now.
Hey, wait a minute now. What is going on with you recently? Why do you complain so much about what I do around the house recently?
Well, I think that I've been too easy on you this whole time. So, I'm trying to be strict to you.
Excuse me? You don't make any sense at all. I really had a hard time understanding what was going on here. No way. Is Max having menopause? It's true that he got more angrier and got much more moody since he turned 60. So I talked to Jane and Patrick about it, whom I haven't seen them for a while. My daughter is already 44 and my son is 40, and they are both married with kids now. Both of them are married to their partner whose parents are much more older than me, who were in their 70s. My father-in-law is 68, but it doesn't seem like he's going through anything like what Dad is. But, well, people show different types of symptoms at different ages, so I can't really assume anything.
But even if Dad didn't do much house chores, it's not like he wasn't a bad, mean dad. I still remember him playing catch with me. And yeah, that's about it.
You don't remember much about Dad at all when you were still little. Mom did all the house chores and mainly raised us after all.
Yeah, you're right. Now that I have kids of my own, I've realized how much I am grateful for Mom again.
Oh, thank you both.
Oh, that's right. We were on the topic of Dad. Maybe he's having an affair or something? I'm not really sure, but...
Excuse me? Hey, don't say anything random like that when you don't even have proof. Dad is 64 years old, you know? There's no way he's having an affair.
Well, yeah, but there could be a possibility.
Don't make Mom anxious like that.
I'm sorry. Well, it's just my personal random opinion, so don't worry about it, okay, Mom? Come visit me and my family anytime if you want to get your mind off of things. I'm sure my son will be happy to see his grandma.
Oh, come visit us too. The kids will love it. Thanks, you two. I was happy to see my children growing up so strong. I was also deeply moved by the fact that they are becoming parents. And I was also a little concerned about what my son had said to me. To think about it, even though Max was retiring soon, he does come home late frequently nowadays. Could it be? Just to be sure, I requested the investigation agency to investigate about Max. And the results shocked me so much. Max was having an affair with a 50-year-old woman. I trusted Max to not have an affair behind my back, but in the end, he did. I was too stunned and couldn't say anything. And once I thought about Max cheating on me with another woman, I was so disgusted at Max all at once. How could he do this to me? When I reported what I had found out to Jane and Patrick, they were both immensely upset. After a while, Patrick said,
Even though I said it, I wasn't really thinking that he was doing it actually.
And they seemed really surprised. At that point, I had already made up my mind to get a divorce, so I decided to look for a place to live for the time being. Even if I confronted Max with the divorce papers right now, I would be in trouble if I didn't have a place to live. And, as one would expect at my age, finding a room was quite difficult. Many real estate agencies are reluctant to rent rooms to elderly people, which is why it took me a long time to find a room. But finally, I managed to sign a contract and secure a new place to live on my own. And it was right around the time my husband was about to retire from the company. But the day after Max retired, I was called into the living room by him. "It seems like you came home pretty late yesterday."
Well, of course. I was having a drink to celebrate my retirement.
"Oh, with who?"
The colleagues from the company, of course.
"No, it was most likely with your mistress, huh? What did you want to talk to me about anyways?"
Well, sit down.
When I sat down, my husband grinned and began to say something outrageous.
You're dismissed as a wife now, so let's just get a divorce. Oh, and it's obvious that my retirement money will only belong to me, alright?
Just when I was wondering what my husband Max was going to say, he'd say some outrageous things like this.
It's all your fault. You're the one who was slacking off even when you're the wife and skipping chores, not listening and obeying me.
Yes, you're right. So then, let's get the divorce papers ready and get divorced.
What?
What? We are getting a divorce, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, you're not surprised? It's divorce, you know?
Well, do you want a divorce? Or do you not want a divorce? Which is it?
I mean, I do want a divorce, but my retirement money is all mine, you know that, right?
So you mean there will be no property division, right? That's fine with me. My husband looked so confused, as if he didn't expect me to accept his suggestion so easily.
Well then, here, the divorce papers.
I took the divorce papers from my husband and filled out my portion. Okay, well, I'll submit this then. And saying that, I started to pack up my stuff.
What? You're gonna leave today? Do you even have any place to stay?
We're getting a divorce and yet you're already worried about that?
No, it's not that I'm worried, it's just that I thought everything was going too fast.
I ignored what my husband has said and concentrated on packing my bags. I finished packing, so I took my suitcase and spoke to my husband, who looked really nervous in the living room. Okay, well, I'm going.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes, by the way, here, these are the photos that proves that you're having an affair. So, I'll file a claim for alimony through my lawyer later on, okay?
What?
When I put the photos on the table and said that, my husband's face turned completely pale. Well then, goodbye. My husband froze on the spot, as if he was at a loss for words. And I just ignored him and left the house. Then, I moved into the new place. I kept on receiving several incoming calls from my husband, but I ignored all of them. And through my lawyer, I filed a claim for alimony against my husband and his mistress. My husband probably planned to leave me the moment he retired the company and remarry his mistress. So which is probably why he had been complaining to me little by little for several years, so that I would gradually think that I needed to divorce him. I guess he really had no idea that his affair had been exposed. According to my lawyer, Max was very upset that he was being charged alimony. And the reason I decided not to share my property with my husband was because I was also earning some money. In fact, my parents were florists and also ran a class about flower arrangements. I was also taught about flowers and the flower arrangements by my mother since I was a child. And that is why I taught at one of my parents' class after I became a housewife. Max probably only thought that I was just helping out around my parents' house, but in addition to my work as an instructor, I was occasionally asked to do other jobs such as arranging flowers for hotels and events, so I was earning pretty well. While I was raising the kids, I used the money to pay for their school fees, and after I finished raising the kids, I used the money to fund my retirement. So, I had a considerable amount of savings. On the contrary, my ex-husband, to be honest, did not get promoted at all, so his retirement benefit was not that much compared to mine. If it was just my husband, he might be able to manage to live in retirement on his own, but if he remarried, then he and his wife would have to cut their living expenses. Plus, Max would have to pay alimony out of his own money, which would make his life even more difficult. Later on, I found out from my son, but Max's mistress said, "That's not what you told me. You said I didn't have to pay alimony and I could live off your retirement money." And in the end, Max got dumped. So, my ex-husband became single and even asked Patrick and Jane to move in with him. But they both said, "Don't you dare come to me. You were the one who betrayed Mom." And they both turned him away and cut him off. So now, like that, my ex-husband was completely alone. Well, Max got what he deserves. Meanwhile, I am living in my new place, enjoying the florist business along with my hobbies. I live close to Jane's house, so I sometimes go to lunch with her and see my grandkids. Patrick would also bring his kids to see me on his days off, so I am able to live each day to the fullest without feeling lonely at all. I don't know how many more years I will live, but I will make the most of it each and every day. What kind of nerve does a 65-year-old man even have to have an affair and cheat behind his own wife who was with him for more than 40 years? I would hear things like a very rich man with a lot of money would have an affair with a young woman. I just can't believe that Max would betray someone who has been with him for 45 years. But in the end, the kids and his own mistress left him, so I'm glad it all turned out this way for Charlotte. Charlotte was indeed right to leave such a man like Max. I hope Charlotte and her kids continue to get along well with each other and live happily ever after. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you in our next video.